M.J.H.E Hoax Evidence Productions.
Message to viewers.
You must know that I love Michael, and I am in no way trying to make him look bad. My only aim is to show you the truth. Further, I have the utmost respect for Kenny Ortega. He is a brilliantly talented man who also loves Michael, and is a beautiful human being with a very kind soul. I have no axe to grind. Some of what I know and have learned will not be anywhere on IMDb, or any other site. Not yet, at least. At those times, I can only ask for the viewers' trust, as well as for their patience, because in time everything I share will come to pass. Everything. I don't deal in supposition or sensationalism, only fact. You know the post-credit scene? The BAM scene?
Yeah, we gotta work that out.
Gotta work that, okay?
Yeah, we gotta work that out.
Well, let me bathe in my own time when I come back in.
Yeah, we gotta work.
Button my shirt, my jacket, or whatever it is.
Can I come back in?
I want to look around a little bit, play with them. Snap my finger maybe, then bang!
Well, that was shot back in October of 2008. It could represent many things. A possible sequel, which I know is coming, or many say it's a clue Mike left. I know it's a combination of both. There is a sequel ready to go. Its title is Michael Jackson's This Is It, Enhanced 3D Edition, and will be released on Blu-ray. Sony Professional announced that Sony Pictures Entertainment will release the film. This announcement was made back on the 1st of September 2010, at the annual IFA conference in Berlin. This more than confirms and explains the reason for the huge 3D and visual effects crew in This Is It. Not only was that crew shooting film content to have been used at the Live O2 concerts, as Kenny said in interviews and trailers for This Is It, they were also filming content for this sequel, as well as content for other projects I'm awaiting valid confirmation on. The reference to M.J.H.E and This Is It was essentially a teaser, and represented some of what is yet to come.
Run for a sound check, Man in the Mirror, okay, and then we'll talk about the ending, M.J.H.E.
M.J.H.E was discussed, but not fully. Nor was its importance. Of course, it will be in the sequel, along with previously unreleased footage, and, according to two professionals, previously unreleased songs, vocal tracks, and extended versions of songs. Were these projects, no matter how many, already planned before June 25, 2009? Of course they were. Was there any of This Is It being filmed after June 25, 2009? The answer is yes. From what I know, some of the footage that will appear in the This Is It sequel I spoke of, was shot after that time. There were reshoots in which doubles were used, and photographed after that time. The scenes relating to Thriller were largely shot after June 25. We will see much more of that footage when the 3D sequel is released. I should say, This Is It was shot out of sequence. Not unusual in and of itself, as the vast majority of feature films are shot out of sequence. Remember, the story goes there are some 80+ hours of footage Sony purchased, and Kenny sifted through those hours of footage to create a cohesive, feature-length documentary called This Is It. The final cut of the film was only 111 minutes. That leaves a little less than 78 hours of footage. How many sequels and other projects do 78 hours of footage yield? A lot. There has been a hoax connection between Michael's death, Alice in Wonderland, rabbits, the Mad Hatter, and other characters from the story, ever since June 25, 2009. Of all films that could have close release dates, I find it interesting, and not coincidental, that Sony is releasing both the This Is It 3D bundled package, as well as Disney's Alice in Wonderland 3D bundled package, with release dates very close to each other, if not the same release dates. Alice in Wonderland 3D is a Disney film, not a Sony film. But Sony is releasing it. The reason I find it not coincidental is because Michael is responsible for these two films being released near simultaneously. Michael is involved in this sort of decision-making at Sony, as well as his involvement in Sony's Make-Believe campaign, and other Sony 3D projects including video games. If you listen very carefully, you will discover that Michael Bearden's responses, as well as all other background noises, voices, and sounds you hear, are all voice-overs. Michael's dialogue is the only dialogue being spoken at that time. The rest of the dialogue you hear was looped over into the stinger in post-production, and did not occur at the time Mike's dialogue was originally spoken. Michael knew the stinger's dialogue would create controversy, as it's subject to interpretation depending on one's perspective. You hear Bearden say, in response to Mike, yeah, we gotta work that out, the first time, then he says, yeah, we gotta work that one out.
Yeah, we gotta work that out. Yeah, we gotta work that one out.
Then, as Mike is still explaining, Bearden says, yeah, we gotta work. But this time, his dialogue is abruptly deleted.
Let me bathe in my own time when I come back in.
Yeah, we gotta work.
It is not that Bearden was interrupted so he stopped talking. It's not that Michael interrupted him. It's not because he realized he was speaking while Mike was speaking, and suddenly stopped mid-sentence. Part of his loop dialogue simply was not used in the final cut of the film. This entire sequence is carefully crafted so as not to obscure one word of Mike's dialogue, yet make the exchange believable. Otherwise, it would appear Michael was talking to himself without any feedback from anyone. Interspersed with Bearden's dialogue, you also hear what appears to be Bearden asking a question, as well as other voices including a female voice talking and laughing.
Jacket or whatever it is.
Can I come back in?
I want to look around a little bit, play with them.
Yet in reality, all of this is virtually unintelligible, and is called walla. Walla is used in the vast majority of films at some point. The way Bearden says the last, yeah, we gotta work, is identical in pitch, timbre, and tempo as the one said before it, because that line was digitally repeated. This may not seem like an important issue, but believe me, it is. It's yet another example of feature filmmaking that occurs in This Is It. Not documentary filmmaking. Feature filmmaking. You see, Michael well realized his every move, every sound would be scrutinized, even by his fans. Mid-song he said,
Just trying to conserve my throat, please, so understand.
Don't make me sing out when I shouldn't be singing out. I'm trying to warm up my voice for this moment.
This was said entirely for the benefit of the audience. The audience wouldn't question Michael not sounding completely like Michael, because he's holding back to save his voice for the shows. He was in rehearsal mode, and made sure that was well known. So this statement covered him, no matter how he sounded. Further, It allowed any clone that had to sing a lyric or two, a full verse, or an ad-lib, to sing without anyone questioning how this actually sounded. They wouldn't have questioned a clone's minimal singing, no matter how it sounded, because again, Mike's conserving his voice. In a genuine rehearsal, everyone already hired is a consummate professional, and there would be no reason for that to be said. It's taken for granted among professionals that no one sings full out for rehearsals. He did sing full out for a portion of I Just Can't Stop Loving You, and though it wasn't classic Michael, it's as close as they came to it as relates to vocals. He proved he still had pitch, control, power, and it was Michael singing. There is technically nothing wrong with Michael's voice. He's been studying with Seth Riggs for years, a brilliant vocal coach I've worked with as well and who is world-renowned. Michael knows how to preserve his instrument. So during that sequence, he let the world know he hadn't lost his chops. My professional association with Michael began decades ago. I hadn't seen him in quite some time, and when I did, I was taken aback as to how very thin he was. It's well known Mike doesn't eat much period, and when he's gearing up for a tour, he eats even less, he doesn't drink enough, and he doesn't sleep. This is nothing new. However, for him to be as thin as he was, is something new. Then again, there is much on Michael's plate, including a hoax death and its offshoots, this is it being one of them. Metaphorically, Michael Jackson, the king of pop, is no longer with us. He was put to rest June 25, 2009. However, Michael Jackson, filmmaker, and much more, was set free on that same date. He has much to accomplish, and this is only the beginning. Michael had compelling reasons to fake his death, even though Kenny said this was unnecessary.
Did it have to end this way for Michael Jackson?
No, I don't believe it did, and that's something that I'm just going to have to sort of work to get through. Because, I just in my own heart and in my own mind, I find that this was, unnecessary, and just sort of leave it at that for right now.
Everyone's waiting for Mike to come back. Well, he never left. He will continue to produce and direct feature films of many genres. This includes internet film projects, and other projects designed for the internet, TV, children's books, cartoons, comic books, interactive media, writing screenplays, Broadway musicals, dramatic Broadway plays. Some original, and some will be reworkings of classics. His own concept similar to Cirque du Soleil, continuing to mentor Prince in his own film efforts, which goes deeper than most are aware of. Producing and directing PSAs, and composing film scores. Michael is not completely finished with music, however, he is finished with music as most have come to know his music. By the way, the film Katherine Jackson is producing about Mike is actually being directed by Mike. You will see all of this come to pass as time moves forward. The truth is, if this is a proven hoax, so is the death. Michael is fine.